Welcome back and a very good morning to all of the students. And let's get started with full stack web application development using JSP, right? And today we are going to start with part 13 and we are going to do something different today, right? So let's get quickly started. All right, what we have seen so far was validation. We integrated and we had that approach of we applied the approach of regular expressions where we are not going to accept any unwanted data from the user. But yeah, there is a second theory. Second theory says that why are you even sending invalid data to the server? For example, this is your server and this is the client, and as usual you know that it's always going to be about a request and a response, right? So now the client sends request, goes to the web server, right? And it is the web server validating data for you, right? And sending the response. For example, what happens in our case, right? When it comes to validations, right? What happens when I type something that first name cannot be, right? I get response, please write a valid username. So what I have done here, I have written this as an input and I have got an output. The output sent by the server is this, please write a valid first name, right? So this is going to be the response, so the request and response. Now what developers say and what they say is that why do you require to send invalid data to the server? Because you always get, whenever you host your website, you have that limited request and response speed and you have your limited bandwidth that you can utilize, right? Because you're buying it, you're purchasing hosting space, you're not using your own computer so that you can have tons and tons of applications open, right? So that's not the case here. Right, so you have to utilize it in a very proper way, and in order to utilize it in a proper way, they say that you need not to send invalid data to the server. Why don't you resolve, and why don't you resolve validation in the browser itself? Why doesn't the browser validate the data and then send valid data to the server? And for that, what we are going to do today is use browser validation. So we are going to use JavaScript validation here. So now if I go back and show you the JavaScript file here, what are we doing here? All right, you can clearly see whenever I click on the submit button, what I do is the following, right? You can clearly see here that I take all the details, right? You can clearly see, and after taking all the details, I send it and stringify it to JSON and send it back. So I say, hey, wait a second, can I alert here whatever I'm getting? So if I alert fname, right? So yeah, I can alert fname, right? But what is fname? It is inside user details. Now can I do something like this? User details.fname. So let us see. So I'll say, yeah, we are getting alert. So I will type Fahim. So I get this alert, right? So can I utilize this? Can I use if here? Because now I have to take the details, differentiate, right? This is separate and this is separate. And here I stop the client, right? Say my browser is stopping you, right? Why does the browser require to stop? Because I have to check whether you are entering valid data or not. I can say if user details.fname, right, is equivalent to blank. If you have entered something which is completely blank, you have not entered anything. So I can use alert, right, and I can use the same message, which is please write a valid username, right? So I can do it here, right? Please write a valid username. So I can use the same message here. Let me just close it down. Yeah, so I can use this message here, please write a valid username. So I can do this, right? Why not? I can say, okay, please write a valid username. So now if I write anything, it goes. But yeah, it has to be regular expressions. It doesn't suit that only doing validation for something that you have to require. So you're doing validation only for empty strings right here. And for that, what we are going to do, we are going to do the following today. And to start with, I will say, hey, wait a second, if it does not equal, if the match, now I will use dot match here, right? Matcher in Java, in Java, and match we are going to use here. So I'm going to use dot match, right? So if user details dot, let's say f name dot match, right? So I'm using this here, but if it matches as that of certain things. Now what are those certain things? So I will say, hey, wait a second, I have to use regular expressions, and regular expressions in Java, they start with a slash, right, and they end with a dollar, right? So they start with a slash. Let me just open slash and say I am going to accept capital A to Z, small a to Z. That's it, what I am going to accept. And the maximum characters that I am going to accept is minimum 3 and maximum 20. It should match, right? It should match your matcher, whatever your matcher says. So if I go to validation and see what are you accepting here for username, I can use the same. So I am accepting for f name. Okay, f name is here 3 to 20. So I'll use capital A to Z, small a to Z, space, and 3 to 20. Same thing I can use in Java script, space and 3 to 20. And then what I say it ends, our expression ends with a dollar sign. And if you want to use case sensitive or Unicode, or you want to use case insensitive, just like in validation we use Unicode case, right, and we used case insensitive, right? So if you want to use that, you can use, but yeah, I want to use case sensitive, right? So I will use Unicode, and for that I will use I here, or you can say I'm using case insensitive here. So let's use case insensitive, which is I right here, right? So now if it does not match, I repeat, if it does not match the following pattern, right, what you got to do, if it doesn't match the following pattern, is you got to show me an alert, and do not only show me an alert but also return false. So now what this return does, if you don't write return, right, what is going to happen is that the code below is also going to be executed. I want the code to return from here. If the code returns here, AJAX will not happen. There is no request going to the web server, right? Because you're sending the post request here, and clearly so you're sending post request to the web server here. So this is not going to happen unless you get the data validated. So that's what I want. Let me check it. Yeah, case insensitive. Why are we getting an error here? RETURN, return false. Why is this giving me an error? So I'll say return false. FALSC. So my spelling mistake, right? So I'll say return false. So this is what I can do right here. So let me see if I can alert and return false. All right, now please write a valid username. I'll say okay, I will write a valid username. You have returned false, and whenever you return false, what you got to do is also, all right, you got to hide the progress bar, right? So you don't have to show the progress bar here. So I will take this progress bar because JavaScript doesn't require progress bar. I will take it here, right? Progress is used to check communication between time taken by the communication between client and the web server. So I don't need it here, right? So I'll say Fahim. So I get it. Please write a valid username. Why do I still get please write a valid username once I have written it? I don't know. Just a moment. So it starts with slash dot match, and then I use this here, small a to z, capital A to z, 3 to 20, close it down, and use slash I case insensitive. So yeah, it's absolutely all right. So let me try again. Okay, for example, please write a valid username. If I write something that I don't want, please write a valid username. If I write Fahim, so please write a valid username, I still get please write a valid username. That means there is something wrong with the pattern. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with the pattern. User details dot f name, right? If it does not match, so that's what I'm telling. If it doesn't match, then see, if it matches, then there's no problem, right? Okay, let me try again. 320 and dollar. Yeah, I have not used not here, right? I forgot. The expression starts with slash and not, which is shift and 6 key. All right, so now I have used not, so let me just go ahead and say this. And now I'll say Fahim, yeah, please write a valid. Okay, why do I get please write a valid username? Maybe I've forgotten something. All right, so let me try again. Please write a valid first name, so I'll say Fahim. Please write a valid username. What is this? FIRST first. Name's not username. Alright, so I'll write it. Please write a valid first name. So why do I get it? So just let me check that the script. Let me take it directly just to check. Let me take this directly and we will check. Okay, if not, $txtfname.val.match, right? If it does not match this, and then I go ahead and say capital A to Z, small a to Z, space, and 3 to 20, and then dollar close, and I am using case insensitive right here. Yeah, it's absolutely fine. So I don't find any problem here in the expression. Alright, so let me use it here. Please write a valid first name. So I'm still getting this wrong. I don't know what is wrong here. Okay, let me write it once again. Okay, let me write it once again. Just let me check. What are we getting here? So I will say alert. Debugging is good. If you're getting errors, you're debugging, it's very good. Should always debug. Now if I submit, so I get nothing. If I write Fahim, I get FAHIM, Fahim. So that's absolutely right. So what is the problem? Alright, so now if I say, for example, var name is equivalent to this. So now let me try using the same name. If name dot match, if it doesn't match this pattern, then shows please write a valid first name. Okay, fine. Please write a valid first name. So if I write a valid first name, I should not get it. There's something wrong with the pattern here. Alright, so this pattern, once you are familiar with it, so unless you get familiar, it takes a good amount of energy, right? Okay, let me write it once again. If name dot match, so I'll just write it once again. So I'll use dot match, and our match is going to start with slash. It is going to start with dot, right? And it's going to start with the brace here. So I am going to write, I am accepting capital A to Z. I am accepting small a to Z. I am accepting a bit of space as well. And what do I accept? So I am accepting this, and I'm accepting 3 to 20, right? And after 3 to 20, I will hit the dollar, close down the expression, and say it is going to be case insensitive. Yeah, now it has worked, I suppose. Brace close. I used quotes. I suppose last time we used quotes here. Oh my god, how can I do that mistake? But yeah, we'll have to check. Please write a valid first name. I write, okay, now yeah, it's working, right? So now I'll use this again. If user details dot name, I have to basically, I know that name is already stored, so I will say dot name dot match, right? So let's see now. All right. So instead of alert, I will again do progress bar, right? And sorry, I'll do this message div dot text, right? So I will say that you got to set text here of MessageDiv and return false. Please write a valid first name. So that's done. Right, so we are getting, no, we're not getting anything. Why? Just a moment. Still getting an error somewhere. We have an error, yeah. If not, user details dot, is it name? No, it's f name. What is name? Name is nothing, right? So we have f name. So we'll use f name here. I suppose this works, so enough is enough. Yeah, please write a valid first name. Now you can see progress bar has not come. Now if you write something unwanted, you still get please write a valid first name. Alright, so you're solving it from the browser. Why are we solving it from the browser? If you go to the page source, and you can see that this jQuery is actually being downloaded to your browser, and including this file which is downloaded to your browser. Sorry. Which is downloaded to your browser as well, and including this accounts.js. So account.js, you clearly see, is directly downloaded to the browser, right? So now do I have to use front and back end? Do I have to validate using JavaScript in the browser, and do I have to validate in the back end? So that thing will be answered at the end of the class, right? So this is it. Now you can do many different things right here. For example, if I am here, so I click register, I don't know what is happening. Do I know what is happening? No, I don't know, right? So now the message is here, and I am clicking register here, so I don't know what is happening. So in order to solve that, what I do right here, I can say, hey, in that case, what you got to do is use this txt fname. If in case you are getting this error, use txt fname and cause focus on that. Shift your focus towards txt fname, right? So now you can see clearly what is happening here. I'll go directly to register, and I'm automatically scrolled on top, and the focus is automatically. See, if I keep cursor here, I go down, click register, the cursor is automatically shifted to first name. So you get enter your first name. Please write a valid first name. Now if you want something else, for example, you want to change the border as I have already shown you, you can clearly do that. You can say txt fname dot, you can use CSS property here, and you can say that I am targeting border, right? And would you please set a border for me which is going to be 1 pixels solid red. So you're overriding the border settings. Now you can see, if I click on register, I get a red border. Please enter a valid first name. Now hit enter. Unless you enter first name, you're not going to jump to second tab. Alright, you can never jump to second tab by hitting the enter key. So that is the treasure, that is the key here. Now, and you're returning code, which means that this code will not be executed. You're solving and you're validating from the client browser rather than from, I'll say L name. So I'll use the same here. Please write a valid last name. So I'll just, okay. So I'll use txt lname.focus and txt lname.css. But yeah, now because I will not jump to lname unless I enter or validate the first name first, right? So if it is validated, it should not remain red. It should not remain red. Okay, now I'll show you what is this. Click on register. Now please enter a valid first name. I will enter a valid first name. Now I jump to please enter a valid last name, but both are red, right? So now what I do right here, I'll have to restore the browser, or we can say the border property of the username. So I'll restore it here. I will say that wait a minute, txt fname.css is going to use the old border property. What border do we have here? Now if I just right click and inspect the element over here, all right, so now you can see that you are using this dashed border. So I am going to restore this dashed border for you. So let me restore this dashed border. Okay. All right. So now I'll say if L name matches, so you go and restore my border, which is going to be 1 pixel solid red, and now we are going to restore it with, again we are using the same red. No. Okay, let me right click, inspect element. Alright, so it's going to be 9#999 1 pixels dashed border, right? You can see here, this is the automatic border that's been set up, right? So I'll use the same here. Alright, so I'll say 1 pixels border dashed. So I'll take it away. So that's done. I go here, and that's also, if you want, right? So if you want to do certain funky things, right? Now you can see only one thing is getting read. Please write a valid first name. So I write a valid first name and I hit enter. Now this is automatically done, right? You can clearly see right here that the border is now dashed. It's okay. And now you can say please enter your last name. So unless you enter last name, it's not going to let go, or it's not going to let you go through. So now I'll do the same here, right, for username, and then for password, then for email address, right? So let me show you directly now for email address, that how do you validate email addresses right here. So I will use .email.match. so I'll say txt email dot focus. Now if you have written everything, now email is not being written. So I'll say please enter a valid first name, Fahim. I'll enter a valid last name, and please enter, right, you can clearly see a valid last name. Why isn't last name being taken? First name is tested, and user details.lname.match. so lname.focus, right, and fname.set, right. So that's absolutely right. So I don't have any problem right here, right? lname, so this is first name, and then we have lname, and then we have email. 3 things we have used here. Yeah, there should not be any problem. Please enter a valid last name. So I will check. I'll say okay. So Fahim Khan, so I'll have to enter username. Fahim Khan S is available, and gmails.com is available. Alright, so why is it still red? Alright, so now I have to say please enter a valid last name. So we have error in last name now. Okay, let's see. If user details.lname.match, small a to z, capital A to z, and we are using spaces 3 to 20, minimum 3, so I've entered KHAN. Alright, please enter a valid last name. So the focus goes automatically there. So if I go to first name, right, please enter a valid last name. So what valid last name do I enter? The last name is already validated, right? Now let me go ahead and see. Okay, please. Okay, we are getting this message. Please enter a valid email address, right? So it happens at times. So I'll say Fahim Khan, and I say Fahim Khan S. So password PASS. Now you can see please enter an email address. Please write an email address. So validation of email address will happen like this, right? If I go to register, now I jump, right? I go to register and I check. I say okay. Please write an email address. So now if I say FAHIM, so it takes please enter a valid email address. So now it is going to the back end. So now I'll stop it here. Now how do you stop and how do you validate for email ID like we did it in that match or matcher using Java? We did it last time. So now what I say is as simple as it was. I will say, yeah, once you have matched the first thing, it can include many things, like it can include a dot, it can include an underscore, it can include a dash, even it can include a space. So I'm not going to accept spaces. After that, check for the second thing, at the rate. When you find at the rate has to be capital A to Z and small a to Z. And if you want to accept in email ID, you want to accept 0 to 9, you can accept 0 to 9 as well. And here also, let me just take it here, right? You can accept 0 to 9, and here after at the rate, you can accept 0 to 9 as well. And then what after that, right? So you'll say no, add this plus at the rate. Once you have entered, after that, look for at the rate, and at the rate should match this, right? So this slash and not means matching with user details.email, and here you have to say this has to match this. Now plus as at the rate, once the first string is entered, then look for at the rate. After at the rate, it should be this. If you want to add few more things, you can afford to add underscore, dash, anything. And after that, look for the third thing, right? That after at the rate, once something is entered, there should be a dot, right? So that dot should be either, I'll say plus dot. Now find for dot, and dot should be either capital A to Z, and it should either be small a to Z, and it can be dot, underscore, dash, and right, .com. So it can be like this, Fahim, and then at the rate of, then Gmail, then we find dot, and then we find comma. It's also going to be case insensitive, so let me try this. All right, we are holding it, we are holding the client in the browser itself, right? So that's what the main aim here is. If you're having very low server resources, in that case, right? If your server is not allowing you to do some funky things, right? If you have hosted, right, and it's the bandwidth is very limited, you want to save the bandwidth. So validation may take a lot of bandwidth, right? All right, so now email. So now if I write FAHIM, so please write an email address. So I write a valid email address, right? So once again, I go and I say, please write a valid email address. Now it's not going, the request is not going to the web server here. So I will say Fahim, no. I'll say at the rate of no. I'll say Gmail. It's still saying no, right? It is available, but yeah, it's not going to be entered. Please enter a valid. No, I suppose it's accepted right here. Fahim at Gmail is accepted, right? Why? And now we have an error here, right? So we have to rectify that error. Okay, so let me see what an error is here. We start with not, small a to z, capital A to z, dot, dash, and this, plus at the rate sign, small a to z, capital A to z, 0 to 9. And then you say plus, yeah, you have to use slash here, because dot is going to terminate it. You have to tell JavaScript, hey, please skip the spatial meaning of this dot. Take it as match parameter. So yeah, it's slash here. So slash, backslash, we have to use this right here. Okay, so now let me try once again after the slash. Right, so I just type Fahim. Please write a valid email address. I'll say Fahim at the rate of Gmail. So I say please write a valid email dot. Now after dot I have to write something. Com accepted. Please write a valid username. So coms accepted. Dot in accepted. Right. So you can say dot net accepted. Please write a valid username. So this is what you have to accept. So now in is not accepted. Please write a valid email address, because you're accepting everything to be minimum of 3. So you can say I want minimum of 2, because dot in is there. So in that case you can accept 2. So I'll say Fahim at the rate of Gmail dot. Please enter a valid. I'll say in. Now in is accepted, right? And it is available as well. Now why am I doing this? Once we have such a huge, we can say rock solid and bulletproof validation at the back end. I told you, save your server resources, right? And now if we are doing JavaScript, then what is the need of doing validation at the server end? Now why are we doing it there? JavaScript can easily be bypassed because it is downloaded to your browser. Sorry. You can clearly see here, right, that it is downloaded to your browser. Now you can go to your accounts.js directly and you can start editing it, right? So this can be edited. This can be completely bypassed because script is here. It is downloaded to your browser. Anyone, a basic hacker can bypass this validation. But yeah, so this validation, if it's each and everyone coming to your website, may not be a hacker, right? If you're having 100 visitors to your website, maybe out of 100, one may be a hacker. He may try bypassing it, or he may try penetration testing your website. So in that matter, yeah, he'll say, no, not now. My server will start responding from the backend. I'm still using regular expressions at the backend. But yeah, in order to save 99% resources, right, which may be wasted because of this validation. So in order to save 99% server resources, you can use client-side scripting validation. And after doing client-side scripting validation, you can clearly see, right, that you can do some funky stuffs, right, just like we have seen. Make it red. It's made red at the browser level. And if I write Fahim and go to the next, so right, you can clearly see, please write a valid username. So now you have to remove this red in everything, right? For example, I go to now email, so I have to remove it, right? I can say, hey, remove the border, right? And now keep it back, txtf name, keep it back to dashed. Now if I say, I write everything, now I write email, everything is accepted. All right, now if I get rid of first name, I am validation comes into the picture, that is client-side validation. Please write a valid first name. If I write, and then you can clearly see that you're going to the browser. So you have to complete this validation. You have to say that every single thing, for example, here I'm turning the focus, I'm shifting the focus, here I'm making it red, here I am removing it, right? So this red has to be removed everywhere. For example, if you have 10, so you have to remove it at 10 times rather. Okay, but focus is very good because it shifts the attention. I click the registration button, I go back and say, okay, the focus is here. Please write a valid first name. All right, I have written. Now please write a valid first last name. Even if I click on register, I'm automatically scrolled up and I get this message. Please write a valid last name. User-friendly messages are very good. All right, and now you get email ID. Even if my ID is not there, for example, I shift my cursor here. Now when I click register, automatically it's shifted to email address. So this is how you can solve this, right? And please complete client-side validation of the full form, and then we are going to end it today here. And before we move to the login section, I want you to end it, right? So let me just start with the login. We still have some time left. So this is done, right? So accounts.js is done, validation is done. All right, so let me quickly go and open a new page. I'll make a new JSP page and I say student login.jsp. Now this is here. Student login.jsp is now here, and I'll be using the same, right? So I'll say, hey, include file, which is going to be my views, and there's only one file. Go to inc/ what is this? Okay, let me go back and see. Includes, and go to header, have header and have footer. Now header and footer is included. I can go to now login. Okay, it's still refreshing. Okay, taking some good amount of time. I don't know why is it. All right, now it's done. Oh, we still have to do something here. Now we have this login. Student, we're getting 404. So let me have, what is the address? Student login. So I'll say student login.jsp S is small, right? So this is my login now right here. So now I can use the student login here, and I can design my login panel here, right? And to design the login panel, I'll immediately go and include whatever is required, right, to be included. So I'll go to register student, and I can see I'm using article, a register article here. If you want, you can use the same article, so no problem. Right, and this is your register article. So I go to login, and now you can see the article has come, right? And I will say, look, I want a login screen, right? And I can include an image. Just a moment. I have this image here, this lock image, so I can use this. Yeah, this is a better image. So let me drag and drop this image to our project. My God, so I have to keep it open. Where is image? Image is right here. I will go and drag and drop this to image. Now we have this image right here, so we can use this image. Okay. Alright, so let me close down footer, let me close down this student register. Okay, this is done. Arduino. Alright, so let me start. Now we have this article here, so let me close down this article here. And this is the image I'll be using, so I'll say IMAGE, IMG SRC, and I'll go to image folder, and I will use this login lock, right, so to make and design our login panel. So we are going to use security as well to develop our login panel. So we are going to use JSP securities here, and we are going to use cyber securities as well. Now we have come to a place wherein everything is going to get assembled. Whatever we have learned so far is going to get assembled at a single place, and we are going to incorporate and learn, right, every single thing while assembling it one by one, right, and including the securities, including JSP session management, CSS, CSRF securities, and whatnot, right? So we still have some time, so let me go ahead and say I require let me say I have an aside here. I'll use this aside right here, okay, and I will use another aside in here, because it is going to be pure HTML5. So this aside is going to take this image. So let me quickly go to CSS and open default.css and say, hey, wait a second, I have an article which is register article, right? I don't want to restyle it, it's already styled. But inside register article, there is an aside, and inside that aside there is an image img tag, right? Now you mind if you set the width of an image to 150 pixels only? Alright, and now you can see the image is automatically set to 150 pixels, right? Very good. So now if you mind, you style this aside div, alright, to something that I want you to do. So okay, right, and what I want here is to give, we have used that box layout property somewhere, right? So we have used this flexible property here, and we have used this here, orientation horizontal. So now if I say background red, right, so we are going to get it background red, right? So if I say, now wait a second aside, because we have two asides. Let me write hello here, and it is not visible, it's come underneath here, right? So what will I do? I'll say, hey, wait a second, why don't you display yourself as a box and keep your orientation to vertical? So VER vertical. So I'll set vertical orientation of these sides. So this is not going to happen unless we set the width of a side first. So right, so let me set the width of a side. So I'll say it's going to be width 40%, right? Right, you can see now 40% is taken by an aside. Why don't I give different IDs here? So let me give aside class is equivalent to left aside, and let me give it class as right aside. So we have left aside and I have right aside. Right or wrong? So we have left aside and I have another thing which is right aside. So let me target both. So left aside is here and I have another thing which is right aside, right? Okay, now let me set background to green. Right aside is going to be green. Okay, now you can see it's coming underneath here, right? So we require this to come, okay? We require this to come horizontal. So let me say it's horizontal. It doesn't get applied. Why? There should be ample amount of space. If I say 40%, right, and why do I say vertical here then? Okay, so let me just get rid of both of them. Okay, let me just go and target aside because I'm displaying it as a web box, so that's not a problem. Alright, but once I display you as a bad red box, so you got to be kidding me if I say, why don't you go and, okay, it's not coming, so maybe it will come vertical, or maybe there's not ample amount of space available. Alright, so maybe there's no space available so that they can float right or float left. So let me get rid of this web box here. Okay, so let me get rid of this web box here. Nothing is happening. It should come. One should come horizontal. Another should come vertical. Oh, it's not coming. Alright, so let me go ahead and do this. I'll go directly to article. I'll say, hey, register article section. You have aside inside you. You mind if you tell your aside, write the following things, right? And those following things are going to be, you mind if you set your zone to horizontal. So I'll say, okay, don't worry. Okay. Oh, it has gone. So let me use it again. Register article has an aside, and that aside is going to be horizontally aligned, right? It's not doing anything, right? Vertical. It's not doing anything at all. So let me do one thing here. Let me call this left aside and say that you got to do one thing beta, that you got to float towards left, and I'll go to this and I say, you mind if you float towards right. Okay, so now that this is done, right, you clearly see float left and float right is absolutely working fine. And I'll go here and I'll say margin left. Yet every single thing is done now. What we need to do is now just design a login screen. And imagine we will not be using AJAX because we do not use, it's not recommended to use AJAX for log in, right? Because we have to prepare for cookies and every single thing, so we'll ill afford to use AJAX. We'll be simply using post method, right? Until then, you got to practice this, complete the validation and close down the registration module before we start with login tomorrow. So we'll try and finish down login in 2 classes, right? It's not going to take more than 2 classes, and for that I need you to have good amount of patience, right? You need to be patient while working with this kind of development, right? So I'll see you tomorrow. Practice this and be in sync with me, right? Synchronous process is very important. Bye bye, take care, and do pray for me. See you tomorrow. Bye.